Hi, Brad Tonini here for Selling DNA, the program that's all about how to sell, where we didn't get taught sales in a business degree, did we? So this is what it's all about. And it's about lessons, I guess skills, things we've picked up over the years, talking with salespeople who are at the selling edge out there. And I'm very lucky today to have Stephen Lakey from Gamma Solutions with me. Stephen's been with me for quite some time. He's been on the journey at the Friday School and been a number of our programs together. And I've certainly done some work with Gamma as well. Now, I just want to make sure that you get all the credentials of Stephen, because he's just become the president of the Supply Chain and Logistics Association. He's almost reached the very top of Toastmasters, which is something that I love, being a person who used to teach presentation skills and human relations skills and everything else, and speaking in front of public. This guy's got a lot on his plate, but he's also a senior consultant with Gamma Solutions, has been for over 11 years, and specializes in how to bring technology to supply chain and how to get the most out of your business and efficiencies. And he's got a lot to talk about today. G'day, Stephen.
Hello there, Brad.
You know, you've got a lot on your plate, haven't you? I was just talking to you a minute ago about your normal week. You're existing on 6 hours at the moment.
Yes, 5 to 6 hours. 8 hours sleep at night has certainly gone out the window, but it's all good. It's out of your comfort zone stuff, which is always good for anyone, I think.
Well, you've been in this business, again, as I said, for 11 years, but also now heading up the Supply Chain and Logistics Association. I'm guessing that it puts you out there, doesn't it, in terms of having to be able to, talk with members, greet people as they come to functions. It's a good thing to be president of the association.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just to be clear, I'm the division director for Victoria and Tasmania for the Supply Chain and Logistics Association of Australia. But it was something that happened over a lunch and a discussion with people in my network, and it happened this year. So it's a great opportunity, and what I like about it is that it syncs so well with what I do every day at Gamma Solutions. So it's the same people I'm talking to, and I'm just exposed to a lot greater area of the supply chain and logistics industry, not my little silo of technology. So I'm learning a lot as well as I go around.
Good for you. Good for you. I want to talk about Gamma for a second. Obviously, I've had a bit to do with yourself and Paul inside Gamma and spoke at your sales conference. Why don't you give us a quick commercial as to what Gamma Solutions is all about, what you bring to market?
Sure. Well, Gamma Solutions, we're all about efficiency, and most of our business is in the warehouse. And typically, we look at a warehouse that may be using a paper-based system, and we talk to them about moving to a computer-based system. So removing the paperwork and moving to a live system. Now, we're a hardware vendor, so we work very closely with all the warehouse management system and inventory management system software vendors out in the marketplace there. So it's always a two-pronged approach, a software partner and a hardware partner, to bring and deliver that all that productivity gains that the customer is looking for.
I'm guessing, like most people I talk to, your marketplace is pretty competitive. You've got plenty of people out there who want to take a bit of market share away from you. What's the secret to holding your market share in the market?
Sure. Yes, it is competitive. I think relationships are so important in our industry. So it's a very risk-averse area that we play in. So companies are spending sometimes hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars on upgrading to an automated live warehouse management system, and it really can't fail. There is no option for it not to work. So working with a company that they trust and has had industry experience for decades is certainly a big tick for us. I've been working for Gamma for 11 years. So I've seen a lot of warehouses and spoken to a lot of people and implemented a lot of systems. So that certainly helps as well.
Stephen, tell me what do you think's the key? I mean, what we do in these programs is just to share a few gems, and certainly people in my community and in my LinkedIn network, as well as people who've attended all my seminars and my VIP Inner Circle, all get this podcast. And it's amazing how people it triggers something in them, listening to this in the car or watching a video, and you go, oh, yeah, I hadn't really considered that, or that's a great idea. I'm just keen to go a bit deeper on this whole idea of relationships today, because I think this is something obviously you guys do very, very well. What do you think is one of the keys to developing a great long-term trusted partnership with a client?
Sure. Well, look, it's actually like any relationship, you know, when it goes long term, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have things sometimes that go wrong. And something I've learned that when things go wrong, that's probably not the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing that could happen is that you react badly to that thing that's gone wrong. And you can, I would say that we have some of our most loyal customers that have survived a road bump on the way to an implementation, that something has gone wrong, maybe the wrong part has come in, maybe the delay on getting parts is a little bit longer than was first forecast. But the way we react to that is the most important thing. So it's certainly at Gamma all hands on deck when we need to get a project up and running, or if something goes wrong. And yeah, just recently, just last week, we had a very similar issue to that, and what looked like the train going off the rails ended up, you know, a customer who was ecstatic that what she thought was going to be a train wreck actually turned out all good, and she was quite relieved and very thankful that she was working with a company that could pull it together and get her on track again.
Often I talk about my program at Moments of Truth, and you would have seen that with the Friday schools. And, you know, we talk about this fact that there's all of these customer contact periods, of which some work out really well, some not so well. But it is a moment of truth and an opportunity for us to shine, and our business to shine, to show our expertise and what we can bring to market when things don't go well, yeah?
Mm. That's right. That's right. I mean, and that's where we differentiate ourselves from somebody selling online, for instance. So honestly, if a customer just wanted a cheap product, they would go online and just order it. But there's certainly a lot of risk associated with that. Is that hardware going to work with our software? Is it going to have the options that I need? There's just so many in our industry. If I buy a non-freezer grade device and use it in a freezer, well, there's going to be consequences to that. So we bring that knowledge to the customer, and it's all about reducing the risk, so that what we plan is what we get at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's funny how it all comes back to those four core drivers, isn't it? In terms of making the life easier, lowering the cost and increasing the profits, and lowering risk and increasing competitive advantage. I think a lot of buyers will buy according to lower risk. Certainly when they see that there's a trusted partner involved, someone who knows what they're talking about, an expert, that makes a massive difference in terms of making sure that they go to someone that they feel very comfortable with, rather than doing all the work themselves. You're in the business of lowering risk. How do you position yourself as a trusted advisor in your market?
I think your existing customers can be a huge voice. So to take a new customer to a site that we've already implemented and get them talking, not to me, but to the users, to the IT managers, to the warehouse manager who are using our equipment and have experienced our service over many years. So I think that's the loudest voice, a customer testimonial.
You know, third-party testimonials are overlooked by so many people, and the ability to be able to bring a third party in that's going to talk volumes about you makes a massive difference, because we can talk about ourselves being wonderful, but it has nowhere near as much importance as it does with a client or a partner in the business talking about you. Is that won you a lot of business over the years?
It certainly has. It certainly has, and when you're in an industry that is risk averse, that speaks volumes. If they can see an implementation and talk to the people, ask them how that implementation went, ask them about the road bumps along the way and how we reacted, it certainly wins business.
Tell me how you develop trust. I mean, you've mentioned really the expertise, you've talked about value adding, you've talked about differentiating. I'm hearing a loud message coming through here, which is all about trust. In other words, how we develop trust. What do you think for you are the components of you developing a great trusting relationship with a customer?
I think being honest and upfront is very important. So as soon as there's a problem, to identify that with the customer, to face up and say the 6-week lead time, that we spoke about, the manufacturers come back and that's pushed out to 8 weeks. Let's have a talk about it and see what we can do. Maybe we can change the model number that we're going to something that is in stock. Maybe we can adjust the project timeline. But I think honesty is very important, because you're caught out once and being dishonest or hiding things, and you most likely will never see that customer again. You've broken that trust. Face-to-face meetings are also important. So as much as you can for your biggest 40, 50 customers, to regularly have those account management visits. And I know what I do is different people have different tolerances, and to find out what that is. How often would you like me to have an account management meeting with you? Some people would like to see me every month to run through things, some of the bigger accounts. Other people, it may be 3 months, 6 months, or even just once a year for that catch-up. So identify how regular they would like to have that account management review, and in that review, go through their experiences, go through their current needs and requirements, future needs and requirements, and that's certainly very helpful in building trust. It takes a bit more time than a phone call, but for your big customers, your top 20%, that's certainly worth going out there and making the effort.
Sounds like you're also very much into proactive activities. I mean, I'm hearing from you about the fact that you're obviously reviewing previous performance, you're projecting into the future as to what their needs might be, you're talking about how you can be a trusted partner in that relationship. It really is a difference between being reactive and proactive, isn't it, in terms of you getting to them before they've even thought about some of these things. And I think this is a part of being a trusted advisor. Talk to that in terms of being more proactive rather than reactive.
Sure. In the industry we play in, there's lots of different technologies. So to achieve the end, we could use different technologies. Some have advantages over other, and so it's about talking about the different options and what lies ahead. So we may be talking about scanners. We may also talk about maybe voice picking. So maybe voice picking is an option for a customer. Maybe a wearable computer is. So it's talking about those and the advantages they have and the upcoming technology, and maybe setting up a trial to try some of that technology. So there's an informative process that happens there, and that means that the customer isn't just coming to us saying, I would like 6 scanners. They're coming to us and saying, we want a solution. What are the options out there? And they should feel comfortable enough to have that conversation.
So a good part of your time is the higher, wider and deeper principle. In other words, it really is going back to the previous customers, looking for organic growth, but also really putting the idea in their mind that maybe there's part of the solution they're not currently getting from you that they should be considering. So trying to get our average order spends up and our frequency of purchase spends up, rather than necessarily the new business prospecting every day.
Yeah, definitely. So when you've got that existing relationship, for instance, we may have sold a company hardware for a warehouse management system. Now, something that we could talk about in a future meeting is what are they doing for that last mile, so for their transport and logistics. Do they have sign-on glass? Do their truck drivers have devices? So that is sometimes a fantastic next step, is to close that loop and get scanning right throughout their supply chain. And typically they don't happen at the same time, but it's a good follow-on project to a warehouse management system.
I imagine apart from lowering risk, you can pretty much sell the advantage to their bottom line fairly easily too in some ways. Like, can you measure pretty much your efficiencies in dollar terms in just about every case?
You can certainly estimate it. So there are some hard numbers that you can certainly pin down. So warehouse accuracy would be one. So a typical customer would know what their current warehouse accuracy is, and we know where we could get that with a scanning solution. Some of the benefits are a little bit soft, a little bit grey, and they would include the impact of a customer receiving an incorrect delivery. And for instance, if they receive something that may be of higher value than what they ordered, you may not even know about it. but also if they receive something that is incorrect that they can't use and it needs to be returned, what the impact is, how much is that going to cost you to get that product swapped around. But the grey area is what that customer thinks and what that customer does from there on. So are they going to walk and go to your competitor when that happens? So there are some soft costs, but there's also some costs that we can pin down, and you're typically looking at a return on investment within 18 months is what we're aiming for.
Yeah, that's a great price justification model in some ways. When we talk about this in the training, that how we can build a model to obviously show payback or certainly how we can get an advantage over our competitors in terms of what the savings might be, our solution over a manual process. This is a big part of your I guess your formula in terms of talking to a new prospect out there.
Yes, certainly. Certainly, and the different technologies have different benefits. So if you went to a wearable scanning solution, for instance, you would free up both your hands. So then we're starting to talk about, well, if you don't have a scanner in one hand and you have both your hands free, how much quicker can your picker pick product? So instead of picking one bottle of wine and putting it in the carton, maybe they can pick two at once. So straight away you can see a massive advantage in going to that more advanced technology.
I love it. I love it. I think the fact that you actually can quantify or at least estimate this stuff is really so important in terms of being able to put together a pretty compelling proposition. Talk to me about the other side of the equation in terms of the people skills required in your role, because let's face it, you can talk technology, you can talk efficiencies, you can build a model, you can at least talk in terms of what that model might look like, but what might be easily missing in your industry from time to time, whether it be your competitors or anyone else selling in your industry, is just that people interface, that ability to break it down and develop rapport and create a compelling argument. That becomes pretty important in terms of your saleability of it, doesn't it?
Definitely, and I think that goes back to the ability to form those relationships, and sometimes that rapport has to be developed quite quickly. So if it's a first meeting, that you need to establish some rapport there with the person you're having a meeting with. Very easy to go into technical mode. I mean, we're dealing with technology, and I can be talking about the so-called speeds and feeds of scanning technology. This one's got a bigger battery. This one's got a faster scanner, and pretty soon you see the eyes glazing over of your prospect, and they're more confused than ever, and you haven't built that relationship or that connection, and there really isn't trust there. They're just thinking about the numbers. So it's a rapport and building that relationship is so important. And I think actually Toastmasters has helped me so much with that. So that it's not just about public speaking, it's about communicating, it's about getting a message across. So whether that's in front of 500 people or just one person across the desk from you, it's so important.
It's a big advantage, I think, Stephen, to be able to, present your message either across a boardroom table or, as you said, in front of a big audience or one-on-one. I mean, that ability to communicate is huge, but I see a lot of people who are really quite scared at the idea of presenting themselves in front of even a management team, in terms of how they present themselves. This is a skill that you're developing along the way. I know you've had, a number of years at it, but I'm guessing you'd recommend this to anyone to be able to develop those presentation skills and that communication skills.
Yeah, I certainly would. And the lowest cost way is to find your local Toastmasters club and join. The fees do vary, but typically they're about $120 for 6 months membership. So it is really dirt cheap in the grand scheme of things. You learn the skills that you need for speaking, communicating, and I think most importantly, the most important thing is when you go to a meeting, and it's usually twice a month, is that you get the chance to practice it in front of people. And it's just like riding a bike. The more you practice it, the nerves go down, and you start concentrating on the skills that you've been taught, and it all falls into place pretty quickly.
It's amazing, isn't it, how when you develop a structure, how structure becomes our salvation in so many ways. I mean, I think with my training with Dale Carnegie training with how to win friends and influence people, it was very much the same, that you got people at week 1 who were nervous as anything to even say their name and their company name at the front of the room. And by week 14, they're out there and they're almost shouting the bar at the end of the night. They were just so excited they developed that skill. So I think this is an underplayed thing that as salespeople, it really is worthwhile tapping into.
Yes, certainly agree. Certainly agree. And it's that getting out of your comfort zone. So you do have to step out if you feel a bit nervous about speaking in public or having issues talking, getting that message across. Sometimes you just got to step out of that comfort zone and give it a go. And I would say that something like Toastmasters is what have you got to lose? So you've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. So just get out there and do it.
Boy, oh boy, you have crammed a lot into less than 20 minutes a day. Our time to put that up. What I heard from you today was certainly the benefit of trust. The fact that we can turn a negative moment of truth into something that's really positive and be able to develop rapport with our clients. The ability of developing great relationships and not overlooking our ability to go higher, wider and deeper with our clients. And now we've just spoken about the fact that being able to put your message out there through either public speaking or at least communicating across the table one-on-one and getting some formal training for that. So there's so much you've given us today. Is there anything you want to leave us with in terms of what the key to you is of selling and getting good sales results out there?
Well, the only other thing I'd like to say is just the networking. So something that works for me is that I have lots of different networks, and it's amazing how you can cross-pollinate those networks. And it's amazing when that happens. So whether it's me talking about Toastmasters or the SCLAA or my work groups, it's amazing when they cross-pollinate and you see the opportunities open up.
I think you're right. I think getting out there, networking, and the right networks. I mean, let's face it, you can easily spin your wheels on networks that don't get you anywhere, and quality conversations at the networks. But you've got to keep putting yourself out there. There's no easy way to sales in terms of being able to, not do the activity, do the work. You've got to be out there all the time, don't you?
Definitely. Yep, agree.
Thanks so much for your time today.
Hard work does it every time.
I really appreciate the fact you've been able to give me 20 minutes in what was probably around about a 12-hour or more workday at the moment, and taking some of your valuable sleep time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brad, and I'll see you at the next meeting.
You bet.
All right.